21 new cases of COVID-19 in Hong Kong. In the UK, Boris Johnson receives oxygen support in ICU. And Japan's Prime Minister declares a state of emergency for Tokyo and 6 other regions. Good evening and welcome. The city's COVID-19 infections rose by 21, bringing the total to 935. But as Sharon Tang reports, health authorities admit they made a mistake by sending the father of a confirmed patient to hospital.
Half of the newly confirmed patients traveled elsewhere, including a 40-year-old domestic helper who visited France with her employer. Among the local infections, 3 more cases are linked to the Marks and Spencer cluster, where 8 staff members went to a karaoke bar together in Causeway Bay last month. So far, half of those in the group have contracted the virus. Health authorities added they work in different M&S branches, and some still went to work during their illnesses. Meanwhile, 4 more cases are family members of patients belonging to the Lan Kwai Fong Ban cluster that tested positive. The hospital authority took the initiative to address a medical blunder where 2 cases were mixed up within a Nepalese family being quarantined.
We just got the information that the father was wrongly sent to the hospital, whereas the positive son has stayed. That happened yesterday. And so now we are rectifying the situation for both. We have sent apology to the family. We will investigate how it happened. So it may be too early to tell the exact reason behind.
An 82-year-old man with a chronic disease passed away early this morning during his isolation in Pok Oi Hospital. He initially tested negative for the virus. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
According to sources, the government plans to announce details of the second round of the Anti-epidemic fund tomorrow afternoon. Measures will include helping companies pay their employees. Caleb Bloom reports.
Over the past week, Chief Executive Carrie Lam has met with representatives of various industries over the second round of the Anti-epidemic fund. The message delivered to her was loud and clear.
Bosses who came to meet with me expressed their wish that they would like the government to help them keep the jobs of their employees. And we've heard that loud and clear.
Sources say the government may assist businesses by paying a certain percentage of their employees' salaries in order to avoid massive layoffs. Businesses affected by the epidemic, such as travel agencies, tutoring schools, and school bus operators, as well as establishments ordered to suspend operations like cinemas, may also receive financial assistance. As for horse racing, which still accepts bets over the phone or the internet, Carrie Lam explained why the activity was exempted from the ban.
Horse racing events have been given an exemption under the prohibition of public gatherings, but they are subject to extremely stringent conditions about admission. Basically, there will be no public galleries.
This prompted the CE to talk about striking a balance between social distancing and allowing some activities to go on.
I mentioned about Professor Gabriel Leung's article, I think in New York Times. He talked about a 3-way tug of war. So at the same time of combating the disease, on this occasion, coronavirus, we have also to protect the economy and also to look after the social needs of the people.
Commenting on public calls for the CE and her governing team to take a pay cut, she said they have donated a month's salary to the community chest and will continue to demonstrate solidarity with the people of Hong Kong. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
Well, today is World Health Day. The city's leader took the opportunity to show the government's appreciation to medical workers amid the raging pandemic.
Today is World Health Day. We pay tribute to all our healthcare workers.
The 30-second video was uploaded to the chief executive's social media page, featuring her clapping alongside top officials. A gesture of thanks, it has been seen worldwide to salute carers who've been on the front lines in the fight against the coronavirus. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been moved into the intensive care unit in hospital after his condition worsened. He was diagnosed with COVID-19 just over a week ago. Meanwhile, there is some hope as the new case numbers in Europe's hardest hit countries appear to be stabilizing. Leslie Tang has more.
The UK is reeling with the shocking news. Its Prime Minister has been moved to the intensive care unit at a London hospital with complications from COVID-19. Boris Johnson is the first major world leader to be infected. He was diagnosed with COVID-19 just over a week ago. After self-isolating and vowing to lead the charge to battle the virus from Downing Street, Johnson revealed in his last video he still had a fever after 7 days. Britain has no official post of Deputy Prime Minister, and Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab has been asked to deputise.
The focus of the government will continue to be on making sure at the Prime Minister's direction all the plans for making sure that we can defeat coronavirus and pull the country through this challenge will be taken forward.
U.S. President Donald Trump said he was saddened by the news.
He's just such an incredible guy. It was just so shocking to see that because you know what that means. Intensive care is a big deal with regard to what we're talking about. That's a very big deal, very scary deal.
Many global heavyweights took to social media to wish Johnson well. Australia's Prime Minister said, "Thinking of you, your family, and our UK friends at this tough time." The President of the European Commission said, "I wish him a speedy and full recovery." Over in the country with the highest virus death toll, Italy's daily rise in infections dipped again on Monday, the lowest daily increase in almost 3 weeks. It's given hope that it's the start of a downward trend and that the country's strict lockdown has paid off. There appears to be good news for hard-hit Spain, too. Authorities in northeastern Spain eased a lockdown in 4 towns near Barcelona. It was one of the first clusters of COVID-19 in the country to be sealed off. Spain's latest figures show the rise in new cases has slowed to 3% from 22% in mid-March. Meanwhile, German Chancellor Angela Merkel said the pandemic is the European Union's biggest test. She said the virus won't disappear and medical professionals, psychologists, and economists must work together. Leslie Tang, TVB News.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe today declared a state of emergency for Tokyo and 6 other regions to fortify defenses against the coronavirus pandemic. A declaration will be in place for about a month. It allows prefectural governors to tell people to stay home and request the closure of schools and other facilities. The Japanese government also finalized a stimulus package worth almost $1 trillion to cushion the economic impact of the pandemic. Nationwide, cases have climbed past 4,000 with 93 deaths. In other areas of Asia, Singapore began imposing circuit breaker measures to prevent the increase of COVID-19 transmissions in the country. Schools and most workplaces are closed for a month. Malaysia's nationwide movement control order will remain in effect until April 14th. The country has almost 4,000 cases, the highest number in Southeast Asia. The Philippines extended its month-long lockdown to April 30th, requiring millions in the country's main northern region to stay home. The mainland reported 32 new COVID-19 cases. All were imported, with 2/3 emerging in Heilongjiang, and all hailing from neighboring Russia. In light of that, the last order cableway connecting the countries, border cableway connecting countries, will be sealed off today. With the nationwide case counts under control, Wuhan will officially end its 2-month lockdown tomorrow. The city has already started allowing visitors to enter, including this photographer who reached Wuhan today and hopes to use his camera to document how the virus epicenter tries to return to routine life. But epidemic control work continues as people need to acquire a clean bill of health before they are allowed to enter. Streets and shops are also slowly returning back to normal. In the United States, the steep rise in coronavirus deaths appears to be leveling off in hard-hit New York. The number of deaths in the U.S. is nearing 11,000, with more than 365,000 confirmed infections.
Praise from the president yesterday for the Paycheck Protection Program for small businesses. During a press conference with members of his coronavirus task force, Donald Trump said the program will save nearly 2 million jobs.
As of today, tens of thousands of small businesses have applied for more than $40 billion in relief under the Paycheck Protection Program. It's really been performing well. A couple of little glitches, minor glitches that have already been taken care of, what they say.
Trump also mentioned possible retaliation if Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi withheld the anti-malaria drug hydroxychloroquine from being shipped to the U.S.
We had a very good talk, and we'll see whether or not that's it. I would be surprised if he would, because India does very well with the United States.
India has since announced it will allow some exports of the drug, which is seen as a possible treatment for COVID-19. The Indian government had earlier put a hold on such exports, saying it had to meet its internal demand. In New York, the first faint signs the outbreak there might be at or near its peak. New York's governor cautiously reported fewer people entering hospitals and fewer critically ill patients needing ventilators. Still, a warning that it's no time to relax restrictions.
Numbers look like they may be turning. Yay, it's over. No, it's not. And other places have made that mistake. Hong Kong has made that mistake. South Korea has made that mistake. And we're not going to make that mistake.
The number of dead in New York State rose past 4,700. The state has averaged just under 600 deaths daily for the past 4 days. While high, officials say the somewhat steady daily totals were a positive sign. Researchers at the University of Washington, meanwhile, are now projecting about 82,000 U.S. deaths into early August, 12% fewer than previously forecast.
Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's confident that Canada will be able to import critically important N95 masks from the United States. That's despite an export ban that U.S. President Donald Trump recently imposed under the Defense Production Act.
We continue to have constructive and productive conversations with officials in the American administration who understand that essential services and supplies are very much a two-way street between Canada and the United States. We're going to make sure that goods and services that are essential continue to flow, and I expect those shipments to come in soon.
Still ahead in tonight's news. 5 police officers attempt to bring their case to the top court over the Ken Zung assault case fails. Police arrest 91 people in a crackdown on an unlicensed pub in Tsim Sha Tsui. And in Australia, Cardinal Pell wins a High Court appeal against his child abuse conviction. Welcome back to TVB News. The top court has rejected 5 police officers' application for leave to appeal against their convictions over the Ken Zung assault case. Jackie Lynn has more.
A conclusion to one of the most controversial cases arising from the Occupy movement in 2014. As one of the officers found guilty in the case, Wang Chou-shing left the top court knowing his final attempt to overturn his conviction was gone for good. He was among 7 police officers charged with assaulting the then Civic Party member Ken Zung in a dark corner of Tama Park after Zung poured liquid on policemen and was arrested. In 2017, all 7 were sentenced to 2 years behind bars after being found guilty of assault occasioning actual bodily harms. They then appealed and 2 of them had their convictions overturned, while the other 5 had their prison terms reduced. The 5 officers' attempt to appeal to the High Court failed, so they tried to bring their cases to the top court. Today, their legal representative said during their trial, the judge didn't fully discern the integrity and authenticity of camera footage of the incident before admitting it as evidence. They added the cameraman was not summoned as witness for cross-examination. While Chief Justice Jeffrey Ma concurred with the importance of the video, he noted none of the defendants ever requested the original footage be used before the trial began. He reiterated that the judge had already ruled out any reasonable doubt over the presentability of the evidence admitted. Eventually, the 3 judges presiding the panel unanimously dismissed the 5 officers' applications for leave to appeal. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
2 men accused of assaulting activist Jimmy Sham and his friend appeared at the district court today. The attack on the convener of the Civil Human Rights Front took place in August at a restaurant in Jordan. Sham's friend, who was dining with him, suffered hand injuries. 2 men were charged with conspiring to cause grievous bodily harm with intent. They're also accused of driving without third-party insurance, driving without a license. The trial is scheduled to begin in July. Police arrested 2 13-year-olds on suspicion of robbing a woman in Tai Kok Choi. The 2, who are believed to be secondary school students, assisted police with the investigation. The 51-year-old victim was taken to Caritas Medical Center for treatment. The robbery happened on Man On Street in Tai Kok Choi at around 11 p.m. last night. 4 males and 1 female, all teens, took the woman's handbag, which contained $7,000 in cash, and a watch worth $8,000. The 5 also apparently assaulted the woman. 4 then left in a taxi while the 5th fled on foot. Police later intercepted the vehicle and arrested 2 people. Police arrested 91 people at an unlicensed pub in Jimsa Choi early today. Acting on a tip-off, officers raided a commercial unit in a building on Hillwood Road at around 3 a.m. They arrested 56 men and 35 women aged between 15 and 55. 4 of them were said to be the proprietor and staff of the bar. They were arrested on suspicion of trafficking in dangerous drugs and selling liquor without a license. The other 87 people said to be customers were arrested on suspicion of possession of dangerous drugs and consuming liquor at an unlicensed place. 3 of them were wanted by the police. Officers seized liquor and dangerous drugs with a market value of some $70,000 from the 1,000 square foot premises. Police are also considering whether to file charges against the arrestees for violating the new rule that limits public gatherings to no more than 4 people. Secretary for Justice Theresa Chang today said she would not comment on individual cases when asked about a pro-democracy lawmaker who reportedly gathered in a group of 40 last week. The Justice Chief only noted that 1 may be prosecuted for providing a place for more than 4 people to gather under the new regulation. Pro-democracy lawmaker Tanya Chan reportedly violated the new rule on banning public gatherings of more than 4 people. Chan was at a bar in Shamshui Po, where she met with representatives from the catering industry last Thursday. She did not answer reporters' questions after a LegCo meeting today. Separately, a pro-establishment group petitioned outside the central government offices, asking the government to look into the matter. Carrie Lam today expressed her support for Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Edward Yao, who earlier claimed one of RTHK's programs has breached the one country, two systems principle.
RTHK could not claim immunity by being a public broadcaster and not observe this very important principle of one country, two systems. And even as a public broadcaster, in the charter for RTHK, there are very clear requirements of its public broadcaster role in deepening the Hong Kong people's understanding of one country, two systems.
The Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs says the government has yet to decide on the poll date for the upcoming Legislative Council election because of the epidemic situation. The election was originally set to be held in September. The poll date is usually gazetted around half a year before the election.
Because of the epidemic situation, we have to monitor it closely and to assess its impact on the society, the public health risk, and the possible effects on the electrical election. So it's too early to say. But it's clear that the Legislative Council ordinance has set out the timeline, including the sort of the range of period that the election should be held, and also the period for the nomination, and also allowing times for campaigns, etc. So we would adhere to what's laid out in the ordinance and plan our work accordingly.
Ex-Vatican Treasurer George Pell was released from jail after Australia's highest court cleared him of child sex crimes. He was transported from jail, ending the prosecution of Australia's most senior Catholic official. The High Court found there was reasonable doubt surrounding the testimony of the witness, now in his 30s. He said Pell had abused him and another 13-year-old choir boy at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Melbourne in the 1990s. Pell has spent 13 months in high-security prisons. That is our time for the news. Thanks for joining us.